Greetings. Welcome to In Conversation with Trevor, brought to you by Heart and Soul Broadcasting Services. I go beyond the headlines and beyond the sensational. Today I'm in conversation with Mo Ibrahim, the founder and chairman of the Mo Ibrahim Foundation. Enjoy this truly motivating conversation. Mo Ibrahim, I finally pinned you down. Where do I find you, Mo? Where are you?
At the moment, I'm in my office in London, and I'm always at your disposal, Trevor. You know that.
Absolutely, Mo. Thank you so much. Mo, you have done so many things, but I thought let's start with heavy lifting. You decided in 2006 that you would establish the Mo Ibrahim Foundation. Walk us through more what your thinking was. You've just come out of being an entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur. We're going to talk about that later on. But at the moment, so 2006, you decide, I want to form the Mo Ibrahim Foundation. What is your thinking? What is it that you wanted to do?
Uh, Very simple, actually. I mean, I've been in business for a number of years. I established MSI, Mobile System International, very successful, and we made a lot of money. We decided to invest this money in Africa and develop Celltel to introduce mobile phones, mainly in Sub-Sahara Africa. And that was also proved to be a great success beyond our expectations. And in 2006, I found that I made a lot of money. And I have never aspired, to be honest, to be a businessman. I was brought up as a socialist, as a young socialist, and I always, thought suspiciously of business people. And here I am, I found myself, a businessman. And so I really decided that this money, or most of it, I should really give it back to Africa. Uh, Africa, where we made money, and Africa, where I come from. So it is where I'm going to give my money. And that I follow literally. I don't do anything outside Africa. So now, what do you do? That's, the previous conversation you mentioned, it may be easier to make money than spend it.
Yeah.
And you think, okay, shall I take some, baby's milk or blankets to refugees, displaced people? Shall I do this? But I thought these are all aspirins. It doesn't deal with our main issues in Africa, because Africans should not be poor. This is a fact. We should not be poor. We have resources. We have a huge continent, and we should not be poor. And the question of charity, is nice. I always thank people who are charitable, but we don't need to wait for charity. So why are we poor? That is the same. Why are we poor? And I thought we are poor because we have, of course, had history of slavery, colonialism, and Cold War, stuff like that. But also, we shot ourselves in the foot. We mismanaged our resources. We mismanaged our material resources and our human resources. And that is a huge mistake. What we need in Africa is better governance. We need to really develop our resources in a proper way for our benefit. Don't give it away for peanuts of bribes and Ferraris or whatever. And again, development of our people. That's why I decided to really focus in dealing with that issue. how to improve the lives of our people in Africa through better governance and better leadership.
So Mo, you've been very laser focused in terms of defining what governance is and what are the key issues that you're going to focus on. Just walk us through more for you the things that you thought were important to bring about good governance and therefore prosperity on the continent.
Right. Trevor, is not, there's no difficulty here. There's no magic about it. It's so simple. Good governance is about delivery of that basket of public good to your citizen. You come to power as a government to serve the people, not for the people to serve you. And you need, as a government, to deliver. This is straightforward, because we don't want to evaluate speeches, party political programs, broken promises, or what has been done, what has been delivered. That is a measure of governance. And this basket of goods is very simple. What people need safety and security. That is very important. People need economic development. They need jobs. They need better education. They need better health. They need equality, no marginalization of other communities, women's rights. All these things are the deliverable which needed to be delivered to the people. And we said that is governance, and we have to go and measure it and present it to the African people so they understand what's going on.
Well, I like the fact that you've added, I was reading a report, your 2020 report, more, where you've added four dimensions, which is participation, rights and inclusion, security, rule of law, human development, and also including digital rights. I mean, that you're keeping in tandem with what's happening as far as the technology space is concerned.
This is true. I mean, we started the index some 14, 15 years ago, but we are time and change. For example, now environment is important. It came at the top of our agenda now with climate change, etc. So we're starting now this year to also measure the sustainable environment. Are we sustaining our environment, or are we destroying it? So we have to keep moving, of course.
And then you then created the Ibrahim Index of African Governance, and in 2007 you initiated the Mo Ibrahim Prize for Achievement in African Leadership, where you would offer $5 million to an African head of state who achieved the governance indicators as you outlined, but also democratically transferred power to their successor. When you look at that, was that the wisest use of Mo Ibrahim's money?
I think so. I think so. We had very wide range discussions before we launched this. I went and talked to maybe 50 or 60 very serious leaders about the issue of leadership in Africa. I talked to people like Mandela. I talked to people like Kofi Annan. And we had lengthy discussion with Becky, with a lot of people, and also some Europeans whom I respect, some good people. And leadership is very important. It is very important to help us to move forward. And we have a number of problems here. First, we have the safe transition of power has always been a problem. How to safely transfer the power. And we also have the fact that good leaders of Africa are never recognized. That may come as a surprise to you, a man who lived in South Africa and Zimbabwe, because Nelson Mandela is one of the most celebrated leaders.
Yeah.
But that's only Mandela.
Okay.
Nobody knows about Mandela. Look, I was giving a lecture at London School of Economics a few years ago, for their postgraduate. There was about 200, 250 people in the room, including some 70, 80 Africans. This is the elite of the elite. You know, this is the young people who gonna go and run countries and companies, etc. And I was debating with them the issue of the leadership, and some were challenging me and say, "Oh, why are you doing that?" I said, "Listen, guys, we have a lot of good leaders in Africa. The word out in the street that Africa is full of dictators, full of criminals, and and we need to really balance discussion there. We are the first to condemn the bad guys, but we need to recognize the good guys as well."
Yeah.
Then I challenged those guys. I said, "Okay, who knows Mobutu? Raise your hand." Everybody raise their hand. Who knows Mugabe? Raise your hand. Everybody knows Mugabe. Idi Amin. Everybody knows Idi Amin. Omar al-Bashir. Everybody knows Omar al-Bashir. I said, okay. Joachim Chissano. You looked at each other. Festus Mogae. Who? Festus Mogae. Nobody. I went through the list. Bohama. Nobody knows. And it was, I said, excuse me. Really, I must say, shame on you.
Oh.
You think you are intellectuals. You think you are and especially the African guys here. And you don't know our good guys, and you only know the bad guys. What legacy are we giving to our young people? Look, Trevor, if you are a good leader, when you finish your term, you finish with clean hand.
Yeah.
No blood, no dirty money. Then you have nowhere to go. What do? Some leaders could not find a place or an apartment to rent in the capital they wrote. Chris Kawinda, you know Chris Kawinda, some engineers have to offer his house to him because there's no place to go. It is just incredible. Even Nareri has nowhere to go. And this is a problem. When President Barrios of Cabo Verde lost his first election, he was president, and he went to go and stay with his mother. He took his kids, went to stay in the apartment of his mother. Because if you are a European or American leader, when you finish, the board of any bank, global fund is open for you. You start to earn millions. Yeah. People make money after politics.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. In our case, our good guys have nowhere to go. And we think this is a bad thing because we need the good presidents to be recognized. We need to shine them and put them out there for the world to know we have good people, for our kids to know we have good people. They need to have role models. And we need to present those role models for them. And we need to go as leader, then not to worry about earning money, but go now and work in civil society. They form their own foundations. They go on the international stage and they put Africa case forward. That is wonderful. So this money is peanuts. What produces is a wonderful effect. People know who is Festus Mogae, and he is invited by the UN to do this. He invited by the European to do. People that Ellen Sirleaf, she is all over the place doing a lot of things. People recognize those leaders and respect those leaders, and that changed the picture of Africa. And then our daughters look at Ellen and say, "Oh, I want to be like that."
Yeah, but Mo, are you not doing what the citizens and should be doing to pressure their governments to put in constitutions that allows a leader who steps out of power some level of comfort? I think South Africa has provided a good example in that regard. Should you not rather be tackling that kind of stuff more? Please push back.
Yeah, that's wonderful. If it happens, then there's no need for the prize. But because
Right.
we have the prize, because we have no alternative.
Yeah.
And if there is something in place to honor and recognize good leaders, provided by their own citizens, we'll stand back.
So just run through the some of the prize winners more. Good Joachim Chisano, what a man! I mean, I meet him on the plane. Wherever you meet him, he's talking about his kettle and his farming. Of course, the late Nelson Mandela, Festus Mohai, again, great guy. I've flown with him a number of times. Hafipe Munye Pohambe, great guy. Ellen Johnson, very illustrious person. And then Mohammed Issoufou. Talk to me about those and what you've learned from those leaders more.
Those are wonderful people who came to power and really did unexpected things. You know, when Shisano came to power after the victory of Frelimo, and now he decided to introduce multi-party democracy. And there was a great opposition for that within the movement. And he went against the majority opinion of the people in the movement who said, we came to power, we liberated you, we own you. And you have a lot of liberation movement in the region who are doing that. Let me not name anybody now. But went against the trend, opened the country for multi-party democracy, and really he moved forward with what Festus Mohai followed on that after that great man Masiri. I think Masiri was one of the most wonderful leaders we ever had in Africa. I mean, he's a wonderful man. And Festus Mohai followed after Masiri. He was a student of Masiri. He was nurtured by Masiri. And those guys moved Botswana, you know, from low-income country to middle-income country. Is the only country in Africa where the natural resource was completely used for the benefit of the people. You cannot name any other African countries, unfortunately. And you cannot mention anybody else. This is the only guy who did it for the benefit of their own people. And we say, oh, thank you, Mr. President. That is wonderful. And we need you now to go and tell the kids in the schools how you did it, why you did it, inspire people. And that is what, you know, look at all these people, the way they acted, the way we're really exemplary, and we salute them. Trevor, we need our heroes.
Absolutely. You know what, Mo? What I found with the people that you've given this prize, for me, the common denominator has been humility. Is that the sense that you get? I mean, dealing with these people, meeting them, they are down to earth. Is that true?
Absolutely. All the great people, by the way, all the great people are the most humble people. I tell you a small story.
Yeah.
We have our annual event every year, which I hope you join us. This will be in the last weekend of April. So put it in your. It's a whole weekend of governance, and somewhere in Africa we move it every year. And in that particular year, I think we're celebrating it in Alexandria in Egypt. And we were also honoring the winner at that time, who was Festus Mohai. And I was sitting in the terrace with President Masiri. And we're talking about the event later in the evening and about Festus Mohai and what happened. And then I started talking to him about his time in government, because he has an amazing story. I mean, there's no time in the program to tell you wonderful mandate. But I asked him one question. I said, Mr. President, you have been president for some time in a very crucial time in Botswana. Looking back over all these years, what is the best decision you have made? Mercedes was always quiet and careful, and so he waited 2 minutes. I said, I think the best decision I ever made was was to mentor Festus.
Oh, wow.
Imagine this great man saying, the best thing I ever had is to help the guy who came after me.
Yeah. Wow.
You can never have a European leader, an American leader. You can never have a leader saying that. That is a great Masiri.
So, Mo, in 2020, there was no winner of the African Prize. What does that mean?
Excellence in leadership, unfortunately, is a rare commodity. And I've been asked that question mainly by European and American journalists who sometimes smugly, sometimes sarcastic, will always say, "Oh, you guys don't have all your leaders are awful. You nobody won." And I have one answer to them and say, "Look, guys, okay, I have no winner this year, but can you name to me a European leader who deserves this prize?" And we'll give it to him. And they stop for a minute and then they start laughing because it is difficult. It is difficult. I would say, look, we in 15 years or so, we had about 6 winners, and that's wonderful. We said, name 6 European leaders over the last 15 years who deserve the prize, and it's difficult. They cannot do it. So it is. This is not a pension. It's not an automatic pension. It is a prize for excellence in leadership, and I'm not a member, by the way, in the prize committee. I don't have a vote. I don't know what they do even there because it is a closed meeting and which has no minutes actually. And we have wonderful people in that board of committee, very respectable people. All the names, of course, are in our website, and they make the decision, and which the board of the foundation then honor and execute. But it, we are not going to lower our standards, because we're Africans. We're going to keep our standard and we're going to keep our integrity, and we'll put out those wonderful leaders when we find them.
So, Mo, in your report says that the 2020 Mo Ibrahim Foundation report says in 2019, 61.2% of African population lives in a country where overall governance is better than in 2010. So when you look back, Mo, with the recipients that you've had, what's your assessment? Has the prize had the desired result?
It's difficult to know, to be honest. It's difficult to know. It's definitely managed to bring to the world stage some African leaders who are defending Africa interests. Africa has a very low voice, if any, in the international arena. Nobody listens to Africa, frankly. And we need some people with credibility to be able there and take our voice out there. We need role models for our kids. But this is a process, takes time. And I guess it's not in our generation, maybe in the next generation, people can look back and see what was the effect of that. We hope it has been effective.
Mo, let me take you back to 1989 when you founded MSI, Mobile Systems International, becoming, I think, the leading cellular consulting and software provider. What was the strategic thinking? Because when I was looking at that, I was like, wow, 1989, Mo was already thinking in this mold. Talk to me about the strategic positioning and the thinking for MSI.
Right. I'm going to be very honest with you. There is no strategic thinking. There's nothing there. Uh, I was an academic, and I happened to specialize in the field of mobile communications. That was before cellular. And I developed the technology, and I developed models of how to uh, provide proper cellular coverage, etc. I was a radio engineer, and many of these became standard acknowledged, etc. Then in '83, British Telecom got a license to develop the first cellular network in UK. They got two licenses. They got one, and Vodafone got one. And BT then contacted me and said, "Look, you can come here as a technical director and design this network." For an engineer, that is wonderful to have a big train set to play with. We engineers like to play with train sets. And so I left my research work at university, and I came to London. I was at Birmingham at the time, and designed the first UK mobile network. And I designed the first hand portable based mobile network. And that was a great achievement because I don't know, many people wouldn't know, cellular was basically meant for cars, not for people. And we transformed to make it for people by taking the phone out of the car and use hand portables which people can carry on them. It became personal communication instead of automobile communication. That's why it's called mobile, because mobile is American word for automobiles. Anyway, so I did work in this big company, Bristol. It's a huge company, and frankly, I was. I'm trying to use my words carefully here, but I was. It was not a very happy environment because nothing personal. I was treated very well. I was given promotions, bonuses, etc. But the whole attitude of the company was extremely backward. It is a basic telephony company. We told the mobile phone as a small little thing, and we had a lot of issues there. How to get the company to pay attention to this technology, and so came a time I said I really don't like the culture of these big companies, and I don't want to work there anymore. What do you do when you are a techie and you decide you don't want to be employed? I went home and said, okay, I said to my wife, then, this dining room in our apartment, I'm going to use it as an office. Forget about the dining room. I'm going to be a consultant, because that what do you do when you resign? And so I started to work as a consultant, and immediately I found a lot of work. Financial Times wrote some article at the time. They said, "Oh, Mo left BT, and that was gonna maybe a problem for BT. How they're gonna do the new GSM system, the digital new technology was coming in 1989." And so I got all contact from Japanese, American, Swedish. Can you come and do help me? So I started to work, and then I find that I am booked every day for the next 3 years.
Wow.
And I cannot handle this. So I said I need to get some people to help me. So that's how it started. Then I recruited 4 people. By the end of the year, I had 11. These were top engineers. And then we ended up really building half the networks in Europe.
Wow.
We did Moscow, we did Singapore, we did China, we did Malaysia, we did Australia, we did the US. And suddenly, who became a huge company. And I say, what is going on here? Uh, Trevor,
And Mo, you had started from your lounge, tend your
I,
lounge.
well, I didn't have a
Fascinating.
lamp. Starting from my dining, my dining table, and
Wow.
then it just grew, and I had to manage this because I'm not a businessman. I was never a businessman, and suddenly I'm an engineer, and suddenly we had this growing big company writing software. Everybody like it, and everybody want to use it. So I had to license our software, and we really grow too fast, and I had to learn as we go. But then I discovered really management is not that complicated art, which is teach you at business schools. And all what you need is just to listen to people and to trust good people. Try to recruit people who are better than you. You know that
Mm,
that's what you should do, and you listen, and then you make decision and you go forward. And that we did. Another something very important also we did at that time, which was very early on. I said everybody in the company is a shareholder, so
yeah.
give shares to everybody in the company. When we sold the company for almost $1 billion, few years later, we created about 50 millionaires. Because, yeah, over 33% of the shares was in the hand of my employees, not management, the employees. And my view was, this is the people who are doing the work. If we succeed, they must share in that success. And
Mm.
that actually proved to be, I mean, because of that, we grew to be a big company.
So you sold MSI to Marconi Company, and you made the number of millionaires that you're talking about. And then 1998, you founded Celltel International. Again, was there strategy there, or this is another lounge dining room kind of thing?
That was very interestingly, it was not as much a business decision as a decision headed by the heart, really. Uh,
Uh-huh.
because what happened is that we were working as a consultancy company design. We take 4 key design contracts, design the whole radio networks. We worked everywhere. I told you half the mobile networks in Europe, we did it. We did Germany, we did Sweden, we did Finland, we did Denmark, we did France, we did Spain, we did everywhere except Africa. And we say, why people don't want to go and do networks in Africa? And I, I spoke to some of our friends because we used to work with the CEOs of all these telecom companies. And I recall one of the leaders of one of the Bell companies who were a customer of ours. And I said, look, we got a message from Uganda. They need to build a cellular network. And they are not charging expensive fees or anything. I mean, why did you go and do it? And he said to me, oh, Mo, do you want me to go and tell my board I'm going to go and invest in a country run by Idi Amin? And I said, excuse me, Idi Amin left 10 years ago. He said, really?
Wow.
I said, look, I'm the most sophisticated guy in our board. With internet. I was a hippie when I was a young man. You know, I, and if I don't know that Idi Amin left, what do you think my board will think?
Wow.
So there is total ignorance about Africa. People lumping Africa as a sum of failed countries run by dictators and thieves and there's no way to do clean business. So nobody wants to go and do things in Africa. So we said, look, guys, at the end, it has to be Africans who go and build Africa. Okay, let's go and do it. And most of the people said, Mo, you are crazy. Look, you you had a good run. Get your money now. Go to Barbados or some Caribbean islands. Enjoy life. Have your cocktail on the beach, and don't go and waste your money in Africa. And I said, why? You know, why you guys think it's wasting money? Oh, there'll be corruption. There'll be. I said, no, corruption. We can fight corruption. We can stop corruption. Anyway, at the end, as I said, it was a decision from the heart more than
Mm.
the head. In that, I believe Africa is much better that than that perception. And if that is true, if there's a gap between reality and perception, then there must be a good business there.
Yeah. To tell me more, when you look back, I mean, you made a lot of money, but talk to me. Did you find some of those stereotypes to be true in your experience? What was the frustrations that you experienced running Celltel all across the continent? I mean, when you sold more, you had 24 million subscribers in 14 African countries. What was the low for you, and what was the high for you as far as running Celltel was concerned?
Right. The problem actually was regulators, because telecom has always been a government business, and telecom companies has been there in Africa for for many years, and most of them were hugely bureaucratic. They never collect uh, uh, their money from customers. Most of the customers are government departments, and they don't pay, and they have no money to invest, but they're happy just to be there. It is an important state institution, so it is there. It will not go away, but they're not doing anything. When we went to Africa, those countries like DRC, 60 million people, and there's only 3,000 fixed lines. Only 3,000 fixed lines. Aside from South Africa, Egypt, maybe Morocco, there's nothing. A huge continent which is not connected. So that was obvious a place to, uh, to to put this network. So African countries and governments issued licenses, and then they need a regulator. So once you go to the telecom company and pick up one of the senior manager to make him regulator. The regulator treats you as some foreign thieves who are coming to destroy his company, and that is pension. And it's very difficult to explain, to say, no, you have to create a level playing field. Look at all the interconnect agreements everywhere in Europe, everywhere in the world. Here they are. You choose the one you like. And so people who are inexperienced, and they have that little bias. I'll give you a good example.
Yeah.
We were operating in Congo and in DRC. Okay. So we have mobile networks in the two countries. We have international gateway in both countries, which means we can take the traffic to put it out everywhere in the world. And we noticed that if you were in one capital, you want to speak, if you're in Brazzaville, trying to speak to a guy in Kinshasa, which across the river, just across the river, if you look carefully, you can see the other guy actually. This call will have to go to Belgium, and then go to France, and then come to Brazzaville.
Wow.
And it costs about $7 or $8 a minute. So we talked to the regulator and said, look, guys, this is not right. We can put connected to do carry that, we can just put a shot across the river. And that reduces the connectivity time. It reduces the cost hugely. You don't need to send. And no, they said no. Why? Don't I have international gateway? I can put the traffic anywhere. Why can I put it to your next neighbor? No, you cannot do that. It took us 1 year to argue with regulator that it's the best for your people to connect them directly. Why you have to go through your old colonial masters? Then at the end, they did it. allowed us to do it. And you know what?
What was the main reason, Mo? Why were they refusing? Were they not just getting the sense or what?
Exactly. I could not understand why.
Yeah.
Somebody says security, somebody says, oh, why you need to connect there? I don't know. Was there some hanky-panky there? I don't know. But they love to send the traffic all over the world to come back. And we could not understand, really. Anyway, after 1 year, we were given the green light and we did it. Within 1 week, the traffic between the two capitals increased 60 times, 60-fold.
Wow. Wow.
60-fold. That's 6,000%. The cost went from $8 to like 30 cents. And we say, is that not better for your people? 30 cents instead of $8 per minute. I mean, is that not better for your people? See the amount of traffic generated now. Why we African afraid to talk to each other? So this is the kind of frustrations you have with people.
And the most exciting part of it, I mean, what was your high? Apart from selling and making 4 billion, what was the high for you?
Our high was the unexpected, unprecedented success that we could not imagine how people took to mobile telephony. It filled needs which actually we did not even realize it was there. And the traffic was growing. I mean, it almost killed us because our graphic, I have to double the network every year. The growth was over 100% every year. Imagine the amount of work we had to do to double our infrastructure every year to meet the demand. That was amazing. And then it created a huge number of entrepreneurs. I imagine, I'll tell you a story. One day I was sitting with my managers and I said, look, guys, I'm preparing a report here to the board because the board always asked us, and that's very interesting. That was 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We defined our stakeholders as the following.
Mm-hmm.
The shareholders, the employees, our customers, and the community. And we need to report to the board what have we achieved to every one of these categories. It's not just the shareholders. Notice only now, 20 years later, people start to talk about corporate governance and social responsibility. That was 20.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I need to know what have we achieved for our community other than providing a service. That's fine. That's our job. But what have we done? And we say, okay, how much employment we created? The head of HR say, oh, we have 7,000 employees. We have 7,000 well-paid jobs, etc. Then the marketing guy turned to me and said, forget about this guy. This is nothing. He say, we have 400,000 points of sale. What is this 400,000 points of sale? Because we sell through scratch cards. So somebody will come and say, okay, I want to sell. He has a small kiosk somewhere. He gets the card and get a good percentage on this. And he starts a business. And next day, he'll have some oranges, some bananas. The next day, he have some Coke and some. Then suddenly he has a full-fledged job. Then he has a supermarket. How he say, I have 400,000 of those guys.
Wow.
These entrepreneurs who came. And then the engineer guy said, oh, you know what? We have, I don't know, like 10,000 towers. These towers all over the continent. And every day somebody need to go check the batteries, the generators will need diesel, and all this is subcontracted. How many subcontracts we have in 14 countries for people to go and do all this kind of work? then it is that ripple through effect of job creation, entrepreneurship, people who's being created out of the company. That for me was a surprise because I haven't even thought about it. I said, my God, wow. So I ran to the board and said, hey guys, you don't know what's going on here. And that was a high.
Yeah.
That
Now tell me more, as you sit there, when you look at what mobile telephony has done, two things. Do you regret having sold to Zain at all? Point number one. Point number two, is this what you thought mobile telephony would do, the impact that it has had on society right now? Those two questions more.
right. About the regretting of doing the soul, there are always two arguments here. Okay. The reason we end up selling the company was first, I had a number of shareholders. Our company, by the way, was always financed by equity, not debt, because banks will not lend to African companies. We were one of the best governed companies. We had total transparency. I have only one board. I am the founder. I'm the very much largest shareholder in the company, in the board of 14. I have only one seat. All the other shareholders, even they have 2%, 3%. They all have board in the seat, and we say, right, that's how we run the company. Fine. If you don't like me, you can fire me because I have only one vote. And but you see nevertheless, banks up at that stage have two problems. One, in 2000 there was a dot-com bust, which actually the telecom bust, and so banks had a problem with telecom companies in general. Secondly, we're Africans.
Yeah.
They don't touch Africa. All these great banks. So we had to fund the company always by raising funds. My CFO has one job only. Every 9 months, he will have a round of finance. And it was really tough. Yeah, of course.
Has that changed more? Has that changed? The negative look at African businesses and mobile telephony?
It changed. It changed. And our sale was one of the key factors which changed that. Because suddenly we said, oh, this company is worth $3.4 billion at the time. Oh, what happened here? And then people start to, because banks research, they don't have research reports about African companies. There's total ignorance. It's dark place there. Know what's going in Africa. They hear stories about Africa and their perception about Africa. So we have a problem, actually, a problem of image and perception of our continent. So our sale helped really dispel some, and that re-rated all the telecom companies in Africa. It become much easier now, and all the guys there working in telecom are finding much easier to raise funds. So things are improving. The second thing, really, I really wanted to do the foundation work.
I see.
Yes, because we had a lot of discussion about ourselves. I remember Ahmed Salim, who was
so rest in peace. What an amazing man.
He was a wonderful man, yes. And he was deputy chair at the time, and we're talking a lot about Africa. We had a number of people in the book. And we say, look, we really need to do this governance thing in Africa. Because running around in Africa, we realize really that place should be different. It can be different. And it just need to run in a better way. And so I had that desire as well. Some of our shareholders also who came, we had people like the IFC, we had CDC, we had FMO, we had a number of people, and also some funds, private equity guys. Those guys realize they're sitting in a huge profit actually. And funds want to exit after 4 or 5 years. also the bonuses and to balance things. Without mentioning name, one big fund actually came to me and said, Mo, we are so grateful. We made 7 investments in Africa, 6 of them failed, but your investment covered not only this failure, covered our failure anywhere. And we're
Wow.
really positive, we're so grateful. That's why really please sell, you know. Anyway, at the end, I abstained. I did not vote on the decision whether to list the company or sell it. I said I respect all the investors and employees. What you guys want?
Mm.
I will always have the doubt was the best decision or not, but it just happened. And anyway, it enabled me to have another life. Every decade or so, we have a different life, Trevor.
Imagine getting free access to the Newsday, the Standard, the Zimbabwe Independent, and the Weekly Digest for a full month. Well, you can, and all you need to do is download the Newsday e-reader app on Google Play Store or scan the Newsday QR code in any of the AMH print publications and start enjoying the quality content. Usasaririrewe, famba ne time, famba ne chokwadi, famba ne e-paper.
So, Mo, you were born in Sudan, 3rd of May, 1946. You grew up in Egypt. Talk to me more about the biggest influence in your life. What is the thing that influenced you growing up in Sudan, growing up in Egypt? Was it the way you were brought up? What experiences formed and shaped who Mo has become?
Right. I come from Nubia, which is in struggling North Sudan and southern Egypt. I come from the North Sudan part of Nubia. The Nubian is a very old race in Africa. They have the old language, the old music, etc., and culture. And when we were in Alexandria as a child, the Nubian community there was also uh, very coherent, very, you know, every evening people will visit each other and uh, it's open houses, it is mingling, it is support, etc. You grow into this community which is extremely supportive of each other. And we were poor, not not hungry poor, but
Mm,
managing.
mm,
And the consensus was education. Education is the way out of this. If you want to be better than your parents, you have to go to school and excel in school. And I recall the Libyan community managed to collect some money and build uh, some schools. They built what you called it an elementary school and also a secondary school. And it was called the Renaissance Schools. Wonderful Nubian Renaissance Schools. They
yeah.
all go to schools which has really excellent education. And these two things helped a lot. The emphasis on education. Education is important. Secondly, is the community spirit of we can get things done if we are together. And which understand in absence of any social uh, safety nets, people have to support each other. And that always lived with me, that we really have to take care of others as well. We are a large human family, and that's important.
Tell me what's the biggest influence that your father Fatih and your mother Ida had on you? What's the biggest influence that these two had on you?
Yeah, my mother really was a force championing education, not only in my immediate family, but in this huge extended family of Nubians. And she will check on every kid. You didn't go to school today. What this kid is doing? Who is scoring what? And there's always some tendency sometimes for the father to say, look, this boy is 14 years old now. Now we should come and do some work to help the family. No, he has to go to school. You guys sort it out. Don't take kids from school to help you think of tomorrow, not today. So she was really the driving force, as for us, all of us, as far as education. My father was a man of a huge heart, and that also affected me quite a lot. He will take care. He will take care regardless. Good people, bad people, whatever, need help, whatever you can do to help people. And this integrity was really important. And you discover that really the honor of the poor and the compassion of the poor to each other is amazing.
Wow. That to me looks like more explains why you have been so drawn to philanthropy. You've already said that one of the reasons that made you sell Celltel to Zain was because you wanted to do the foundation work. So that's where the philanthropy, the giving, the caring comes from.
Probably.
Mm-hmm.
We have been brought up, to look after our, why how can we help? And from early age, after I had my first job, after I graduated as an engineer, my uncle died. He has 4 kids or something. First call from my father. I was in Khartoum at the time. He was in anxiety. I said, okay, you are the father of these kids now. You go and sort it out. And from my first salary in my job, I have to really cut out and make sure these kids go to school. And, it is ingrained in you as you are part of this extended family. You cannot eat when somebody else is hungry. It's not acceptable.
Yeah. Mo, you've been very successful. You've received honorary doctorates. You've received a number of awards. But I want to ask you, have you ever failed at something? And if you've had, what lessons did failure teach you?
Yeah, I failed in a lot of things. I'm not invincible. Yesterday I was failed. It was a weekend. I was playing golf and I lost. Every day I have some failures, and failures remind you are human, and it's welcome to failure and welcome to success. That's life.
Mo, I know that as we round up, 2 things that you're very passionate about. COP27 has just ended. What you've made a statement. What is the world? What is the world supposed to be doing as far as the responsibilities, the burden that is being placed on Africa as far as climate change is concerned?
Trevor, if you are serious about climate, the only way to sort the problem out is carbon pricing. Now, everybody knows that. But they won't do it. That is a problem. And that is a failure of leadership. We have politicians. We don't have statesmen, unfortunately. We have people who want to be elected next year or the year after, who want to win at midterm or the full, whatever it is. That is the main objective. But long term, what's going to happen to our kids or our grand? Well, who knows? Maybe Microsoft finds some piece of software which sort out the carbon. Come on, guys. Be Look, the easy solution for this is simple. Now, in order to maintain 1.5 degrees, right? That's the objective.
Yeah.
Which people try to retreat from now. But that's the objective. You know what? if we limit everybody in this world to, let's say, three tons a year of emission, we are there.
Mm.
Okay. Now,
Why are we not doing it, Mo?
I'll tell you why. Because if we agree that all human beings are equal, and we just share this resource around us in an equitable manner, then if an average American emits 15 tons a year, European 7, Chinese 7, Africans half. Here is a simple equation. Create incentive to everybody. You emit 7 tons a year, that's 4 tons above the 3 permissible amount of emission you should do. Multiply that by your population, multiply that by a price of ton of coal. This is what you need to pay in that climate fund. You, in Africa, you emit half a ton. We owe you 2.5 tons. Multiply 2.5 tons with the population, with the price of coal. Here is the money for you. What this happens, the guys who emitting, they have to pay for the consumption. The guys who are not emitting receive money to help them to adapt and to mitigate and to move forward.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it. But at the moment, it's a charity. Look, you are rich guys, please give us some money. And this rich guy says, oh, yeah, okay, I'll give you some money. We're $100 billion a year enough? Yeah, okay, maybe that's enough. But then, oh, you know what? We have COVID this year. I cannot do it. Maybe next year. And so they have been talking about that for 3 years and did not come yet because they think of it as a charity. Excuse me, it's not charity. It is price of consumption. And if people price coal, price emission, then people will behave. The guys who pay a lot of money want to reduce it. So they're going to ensure to try to reduce it. The guys who are not emitting, they try to stay green. That's a great incentive for us in Africa to maintain our forest, our renewable, etc. Look, we talk about the Amazon,
Yeah.
the Congo Basin. Now, this is a huge carbon sink. So everybody say in the world, hey, guys, don't touch it. Don't touch it because we need it. We need to breathe. Okay, fine. Pay for it.
Yeah.
Why I pay for it? If it's a global good, everybody should pay for it. Then I'll stop, cutting trees and trying to dig for oil or to look for, pay for it. And the only way to pay for it if there's a carbon price. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that, Trevor. But it's unfortunate that where we are. This is the failure of our politicians in the rich countries, unfortunately.
Looks like we're going to be here for a long time more as far as that is concerned, because this failure of leadership is preponderant.
It is a problem. It is a problem. And we just have to keep pushing, and we have to explain to people why they need to price carbon. Because I don't find any other solution.
Absolutely. Let me before I ask you about books now, I'll ask you the question that we started talking about as we were getting ready. What is easy to do, making money or giving money away?
That may sound a little bit silly, but really giving away money is difficult because you have to make choices, and sometimes these choices can be very painful, Trevor. Look, I get a message from somebody saying, look, I need a kidney replacement. It's going to cost so much money. Can you do this? Or somebody wants to study, I need to pay the fees. And also, which choice to make?
Wow, what a choice to make.
You plan to blame God or what? What is this? It's really difficult. And then it's also more difficult if we choose to put our money in really as activists in trying to promote governance and leadership against humanitarian efforts is tough, because there's immediate need. Somebody got floods here, they lost their house, they need help. But we're trying this long-term project, which it hasn't got the same human immediate touch as helping somebody who is ill or lost, a leg or whatever. It is tough decisions, and you really need somehow to navigate through it.
The viewers more who are all over the world love books, and I thought we would take 2 minutes more for you to share with us any books that you've read more that have had a huge impact on your life, please.
Right. I recently I liked the book by Minouche Shafiq, who used to be a director at I think it was the IMF. I used to be deputy governor here at Bank of England. She's now director of London School of Economics, which is what we owe each other. It's about a new social contract. It's a very interesting book. It's looking at society had changed. How we're going to move forward. We need a new social contract, which I think is really, really interesting book. I just received a book from Bono, and I have not read it yet, but interesting to see what he has to say. He's a friend of ours, a friend of Africa, and also look forward to see what he's saying.
Fantastic. You were talking as we end more. One thing that you do very well. We were together in Tunis for your annual meeting. And I think I can't remember, is it Dakar? We've been to Mauritius. You're doing a wonderful job. I mean, in a way, for lack of a better word, that's our own little Davos. Is that your thinking?
Yes, is our Davos, but it's more honest. We don't sell speakers slots. We don't charge money even for attendance, and we also speak honestly. And that's the difference between us and Davos. So I'm not sure we describe ourselves as Davos. We say it's an African government. We Africans do things differently.
Absolutely. And I've thoroughly enjoyed being part of those summits, the music and so forth. And also, there's something about you, Mo, that people might not know, is that you are very candid. You are forthright. You speak your mind, which is why I was looking forward to this conversation. So thank you so much for creating the time. I'm happy I finally pinned you down. Thank you so much, Mo.
Thank you. And I wait to see you then in Nairobi for our next event.
Fantastic. Mo, remain sitting where you are. Allow me now to direct myself to our viewers, Mo, who are all over the world, who follow this conversation every week. We are out on YouTube, 7 a.m. Central African time. To make sure that you don't miss out on any of these quality conversations, I invite you to press on this red button here and subscribe, share, and like. We've created a podcast platform for your listening pleasure. If you scroll down this video and go to our website, you'll find our podcast for all our conversations for your listening pleasure. Until next time, cheers to you all.